I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to the conversation with Al McFarlane. Today is Wednesday, September 7th. Glad to be here and glad to have you along as well. Wednesdays, we focus on wealth creation, building businesses, building equity in homes, having a conversation that we ought to be spending a lot more time on, talking about how we create generational wealth. Well, today I'm pleased to have one of the people in this community who's been at the forefront of organizing, of agitating, of asking questions and moving the conversation forward, not only in the community and among us, but also in the corporate and governmental spheres as well. Sheletta Brundidge is an entrepreneur. She's a communicator. She's a marketer, and she's a phenomenal parent. I'm going to ask her about all of those roles she plays. She's a broadcaster, media personality, and we're so glad to have her on today's program. But let me first bring in my co-host, Brenda Lyle-Gray. Brenda, how you doing? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Al. How are you?
I am well. Good to see you. And always, every day at this time, we hang out and try to have a conversation about things that matter to our people.
Been some great shows.
I think so too. Well, let me introduce you to Sheletta. Sheletta has been in and out of this market. She came into the market maybe 10, 12 years ago, Sheletta, doing some television work. And then you left and you came back entrepreneurial way. So good to see you, and kudos to you for both perseverance and vision, and for a voice, for respecting your own voice and being fearless in the use of that voice as an advocate for your business, but all of our businesses as well. Let me have you introduce yourself and your business vision, your business mission.
Yes. So my name is Sheletta Brundidge, and I am a podcast entrepreneur. I created ShelettaMakesMeLaugh.com 2 years ago now. It is a podcasting network of 10 shows, and they are all hosted by Black people. The sirens are going off out here in Cottage Grove as a test, so there's nothing I can do about that. I'm so sorry. It'll only be just a second, but that just lets you know I'm fire and that it's about to go down. We're setting off the alarms, Al and Miss Brenda. We're setting off the alarms at Cottage Grove. So fire out here.
That sounds like you to me. Go right ahead.
Sounds like a lawyer to me.
Yeah, amen. Amen. I was hosting and filling in on WCCO Radio, the storied, historic CBS station here in the Twin Cities. And I have been there about 3 years, been on time most of the time. And just, doing a really good job. And so I figured, at some point, if I just do really well and I work really good, they're going to give me an opportunity to host my own primetime show. So I was staying late. I was coming in early. I was coming up with community engagement and ideas. I was working real hard. Miss Brenda, how we play the game. We do our best, thinking at some point,
sounds like a lawyer.
They're going to give us a chance, and we just show them how awesome we are. And so positions became available, and I kept getting passed over. And I was like, okay, why are they hiring people that I got to train? Why do they keep hiring these white guys that have less experience than me? I have been in this broadcasting business 21 years. I have 1 Emmy and 2 Edward R. Murrow Awards. And so I was sitting there, this was before George Floyd died, with my boss, my boss's boss, the boss's boss's boss. And I was banging my head against the wall, saying, hey, listen, y'all got to find a way to get me on prime time. You got too many openings. I've got too much to say. And they were like, you're just not a good fit. And so I remember walking out of this meeting, Uncle Al, and I looked on the wall, and in 97 years, they had never had a Black woman in prime time. Saturdays, Sundays, and nights. Don't come up here during the daytime when it's still light outside. I'm light, but I ain't that light, Miss Brenda. And so that's when I realized they are never going to give me my own show. No matter how good I am, no matter how hard I work, they're never going to give me an opportunity. And so I remember just being so dejected, and I was so upset, and I just thought, this is it. And, I was watching the BET Awards, and I saw Tyler Perry's speech, and he said, instead of fighting for a seat at the table, build your own.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at Al and so many other Black media business owners in the Twin Cities. And I said, look, if Uncle Al can do it, if Tracy can do it, I can figure it out. I just looked at the blueprint that they laid and said, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it on my own terms. I'm going to go give me a few little classes, take me some training, and I'm going to just take out running. And all that effort, all that brain matter that I had been giving and pouring into the places that I have worked over the years, I began pouring into my own business. And Uncle Al, it was just supposed to be me. That's why it's called Sheletta Makes Me Laugh. It ain't called We Make Me Laugh. It's called Sheletta Makes Me Laugh because it was supposed to be one podcast, my stuff, just me. At the end of the day, I started getting calls, Miss Brenda, from Dr. Verna Price and Anissa Keys and Shay Sandiford and the late, great Jason Clopton saying, hey, we want a podcast too. Can you put us down? Can you produce us a show? And before you know it, I had a whole network. Come on now, Jesus. This is what happened when you tithe on the groceries, Miss Brenda. I had a whole network.
What did you say when you say that again? I missed that.
You tithe on the gross. Miss Brenda heard me.
Okay.
Y'all over there tithing on the net. This is what Jesus do when you tithe on the gross.
Okay.
So
that ancestral energy.
Amen. So I had a whole network, 13 people and 10 shows jumping out the gate. And we have been a one-stop shop for cultural relevance and creativity. We just follow him, Uncle Al. We like, there's nothing new under the sun. What he over there doing? That's what we gonna be doing. What he over there saying? That's what we gonna be saying. Who he talking to? We want to talk to him too.
Oh my goodness.
That's how you do it.
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 So listen, this is great, Sheletta. I love the energy and I love the insight that you're bringing to it. And the name of the game now is to simply explain and explore. Explore and explain to reveal so that there's no mystery and that this is only a question of work. And it's just work. And work is not magical. It may be complicated, but that's okay. We're complicated human beings, right? And so too often we operate in the Oz arena, right? The Wizard of Oz arena. There's a huge illusion, a manufactured illusion of what the world is. And if you figure out how to pull down the curtain or go behind it, you see a little old decrepit person operating wheels, and maneuvers and pulling buttons and keeping you running, but you doing the running, right?
Right.
And so that's why this conversation is important. So let's talk about what you expected, what you wanted to do, your original intent, your commitment to bust it, to work as hard as you could, to grind, because you thought at some point in time somebody was going to see you as worthy and open the door and let you in. Talk about that.
So I just knew that they would see me shining over here, Miss Brenda. I'm thinking I'm shining like brand new money. I'm generating tens of $millions in earned media. You can't turn your TV on nowhere in the country and not see me or one of my kids. T. Michael Rambo called me from Oakland, California, wanting to know who my agent was because he's watching CBS This Morning with Gayle King, and I'm on TV. I said, it's just me and Jesus over here. But, when my company, when the radio station I was working for got a chance to promote and move some folk around, even though I had more earned media. And earned media is when somebody is on TV or in the newspaper without paying for it, without buying an ad. That's what earned media is. And I'm generating tens of millions of dollars in earned media off my name and story alone. But I'm not valuable enough for you to give a show to. You ought to be able to sell all kind of cars and clothes and shoes and perfumes and trips to Australia off of my name. If I can generate tens of $millions in earned media by myself with just my story, but they didn't see the value in me. They didn't look at me and see, okay, she's generating tens of millions of dollars in earned media just off her story, just because she's got 3 kids with autism, just because she's got a divorce, just because she is, doing these things in the community. She's helping folks. She's, partnering with, no, that doesn't mean anything to them. And I realized that they were never going to see me shining. I come into the room, I'm Miss Brenda, when I come into the room, I'm sucking all the fame out. If you are in the room and you are famous, you need to leave if you still want to be famous, because I'm sucking all the fame out of the room when I walk into the room. And they know that. They see that operating, and it doesn't mean anything to them. And, I just decided I was going to determine my own worth and value, because they were never going to do it. And you know what happened, Uncle Al, is y'all know that movie Hidden Figures?
Yeah.
I hate that damn movie. I hate the movie. I never saw it. I hate the story. You know why? Because Katherine Johnson and these brilliant Black mathematicians and scientists literally single-handedly saved the NASA space station, and it took 50 years in a Hollywood movie for anybody to tell her story. Nobody thought enough of this woman and her team in real time to recognize everything that they did. Now, Miss Johnson should have been applauded the moment she saved that space station, but those white men sat by, watched her do their work, and never gave her the credit. By the time somebody recognized her, she had 1 foot in the grave, bless her heart. I don't even know if she knew what was going on. And come on, Cherry talking about, okay, come on, girl.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's when I realized that I'm coming into the room with my own spotlight. I'm not going to wait for you to clap for me. I'm going to clap for me. So, Miss Brenda, when USA Today said I was the woman of the year for Minnesota, I took out a billboard. I took out 5 digital billboards all across town to let these suckers know. For Small Business Week, I put my whole entire podcasting team on digital billboards all across town to let these suckers know. I'm not going to be afraid to toot my own horn, because if I wait for you to shine a spotlight on me, I'll be just like Katherine Johnson. I have 1 foot in the grave. I'm going to tell my story. It's not bragging. And they have told us, especially as Black women for so long, Uncle Al, don't brag, don't show out. Wait for somebody to acknowledge you. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to walk into the room. I'm going to tell you how brilliant I am. And then I'm going to back it up and show you, because it's all about hustle and faith. You remember that movie, Hustle and Flow? Well, you know what? When we tell my story, Miss Brenda, on my Lifetime for TV movie, it's going to be called Hustle and Faith. Because it is all about getting out there, like Uncle Al said, and grinding. He does not have what he has because he sits and prays for it. He's out there hustling. He's out there working. He's out there reinventing.
For 40 years.
Yes. And this is the thing now. Uncle Al sees, okay, everybody's going virtual. Everybody's going online. We got podcasts. We got YouTube. We got to put some video on this thing. He didn't just sit there and keep it all right here in the newspaper. He understands that there is a group of people that still enjoy getting that newspaper. They enjoy opening it up. They enjoy reading it. But he's also got to reach this new generation. They don't even know where to buy a newspaper. But he's still got to reach them. He's still got to give them these stories. He's still got to do these interviews. So you have got to constantly be grinding and looking for the next thing and how you're going to reach the masses. That's the only way you're going to stay relevant. And that's why Uncle Al's always on top, because he's not afraid to do something different.
Sheletta, let me just say that before my boss gets his 2 cents in, you have inspired me. And I'm 75 years old. And Al and I went to kindergarten together, and we were inspired even then. But he also has a cousin that was like you, the late Bernard Powell. He used to walk in a room, Sheletta, and it could be a room full of dignitaries. It didn't matter who was there. It went quiet.
Yeah, we sucking it all out.
I mean, it just went quiet because he demanded that respect, and he had earned it. Yeah. And I'm so proud of you. I mean, what an accomplishment. I mean, excuse me. You need to be talking to the young ladies in high school and letting them know what they can do, because our Black children are in trouble, and it bothers me. But
Well, you know, I
someone
can't
like
do,
you with
I
your
couldn't do this without Al. You know, he had to come before me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can talk trash and I can look at them in the face and I can stand flat-footed with them and speak my truth because he paid a price before I got here. Do you
Yeah,
understand
but we
what I'm
had
saying?
some.
Yeah,
We had
yeah.
some
Y'all
that
had to,
did that for us.
yeah, you know,
Yeah.
he had to pay a price. You had to pay a price for me to be here. I didn't just come here because I'm so fabulous. I came here because he blazed the trail and he let folks see. Black media works. Black media is effective. Black media will get you the results that you want. I have to pull from the numbers he got. I got to show him his paper. I can't just bust up in here and say, I got a podcast and platform. Trust me. They were able to trust him and they saw the results that he got. So then they'll give me a chance. I cannot sit here. My company cannot exist. I cannot feed my children without an Al McFarlane. I cannot. It's not possible.
I love your energy. I just wrote about Gary Hines with Sounds of Blackness, and it was this ancestral energy that he talked about throughout his interview. And we're feeling that today because we need them to come and walk around us and then embrace us because it's ugly out here, but we can't buy into the ugliness.
Yeah.
You know, and we had a foundation and you're giving more people a foundation. So kudos to you. And I bet you are a dynamic mother who takes.
Girl, I don't know, girl. I got a social worker and a case file. I'm old school, girl. I got to Minnesota. They tell me you can't spank your kids. I was like, what?
That reminds us of our time, Al.
What? I'm born and raised in Texas. They got spanking rooms at the elementary school. I get up here, they're like, well, you can't spank your kids. I said, well, who gonna spank them? The police? I mean, if you really want to know, and I was talking to somebody about this the other day, Miss Brenda, while you're talking about how you know,
I gotta stay still. Foster's gonna kill me.
Girl, look, we all slain in the spirit. But we got these kids and they cutting up. If you look at what happened to the fair, Uncle Al, this is the sad reality of it. I worked at the fair. I was at the WCCO booth. I was at the Twin Cities Public Television booth. Do you know I hired a private security guard? I mean, this was weeks before the fair. I called a gentleman and he came from Wisconsin and his job was just to shadow our family. And you know, I had prayed and that's what God gave me to do in my heart was to hire somebody to watch over us. And at first I thought this is a waste of money. This is extra. But you know, our WCCO booth is right next to Sweet Martha Cookies. And they were throwing things at Sweet Martha's Cookies booth. I'm over there with 3 special needs children. They don't know to run. They got autism. You know, one of them is barely talking. You know, and then, you know, the shooting that happened. You know, if I'm hooked up to some headphones and I'm doing interviews, my kids are over here coloring, they're playing, they may be chasing each other. If something jumps off, I can't save everybody. And so I had to hire a security guard to look out for my family. And you know, this to me, this is really where we have lost our way. If you think about it, Uncle Al, we are in the 3rd, maybe the 4th generation of unchurched people. We as Black folks have never been without a godly foundation. Whether you are a Christian or you are Muslim or you are Jewish, we always had a connection with a higher power and a conscience and, you know, some guilt and some shame about behavior. And, you know, we got kids in our community who've never been to church. Their parents have never been to church. And some of them, their grandparents have never been to church. And so I just really believe that the reason that our country has lost its way, our entire country, is because Black people have always been the heart and soul of America. And we have always had the church as our foundation. And somehow we have lost our way. And the church is no longer our foundation. And that is why we are seeing such lawlessness and such crime and such disregard for elders and, you know, rules and regulations, and then no conscience about doing it and won't apologize. You know, it used to be, you know, you see a mug shot of somebody and they be shamed. You know, they be shamed. Do you looking at these mug shots? They like,
be proud. Yeah.
They don't care. They
Facebook
will
post.
knock an old lady over, and nobody in the whole group is saying, "Wait a minute, dude, this is the wrong thing to do," because they never went to church. They mamas never went to church, and some of them, they mama's mama, they ain't even going for Easter and Mother's Day. And that's why we are in our community. That's why we are where we are in this country.
Let me reach out and say hello to Cherie Harvey, who's been following the conversation in the chat and giving you some feedback, and all of us some feedback, and also to my friend Michelle Madison. Let me say to others that are connecting, watching, listening, we'd love to have you involved to participate in this conversation. We want to talk to each other, and this is primo. This is world-class Black folks talking to Black folks about the world that we see, that we know, but also about the world that we feel it is our duty to co-author, to create. Our mission is to tell, to create, to write a different outcome. And the outcome that has been prescribed is one that I believe continues to put us at the margin. And as long as we accept somebody else's definition of who we are and what's good for us, we're going to find ourselves in a place where there is no solution, no winning. I believe, however, that we must take the responsibility and be accountable to ourselves and each other, to the creator, for acting out a sense of sovereignty, whatever that means to you, in your personal life, in your family, your community, neighborhood life, and in the affairs of our nation and of the world. So this conversation is like that. We'd love to have you weigh in, jump in, give your thoughts, your feelings, your solutions as well. Sheletta, talk about your family. You have mentioned, being a parent of children with special needs. We don't talk about that a lot. You talk about it, but most of us don't. Why don't we talk about it? And what are you saying about the challenges and opportunities, the gifts that you've discovered out of the situation?
Our people, Black people, we have somehow associated with our children's special needs. Like my kids have autism. If something's wrong with our kids, we have internalized it. And we think for some reason that makes us a bad parent. Or maybe we did something wrong during pregnancy, or maybe this is a punishment. But we try to hide our special needs kids. We don't want anybody to know little Johnny got autism, or he's not looking at us, or he's not saying his name. And so what happens is, Uncle Al, instead of us going somewhere, getting them tested for special needs, getting them the therapy and the resources that they need at an early age, because early intervention is the key, we say, ain't nothing wrong with that boy. The boy gonna talk when he's ready to talk. Leave him alone. I know he 5 years old. He in cowboy boots and a pamper, and he biting, and he flipping his hands, and he spinning around, and he can't say his own name, and I gotta puree his food. But the Lord gonna heal him. Leave him alone. Well, then you go to school, and he keeps getting put back. So now he's in 3rd grade. He's 10 years old, and the school want to put him in special education, and you say no. Then he's 15. He's a big old boy. And at this point, he's fighting because he's frustrated, because he can't talk. Now you want to run up in my house and you want me to do an exorcism. Or you want to run up into the school and you want them to do something for him. Well, you know what? When he was 2 years old and he was spinning around in circles and flapping his hands, that was your time to go get him some speech therapy. That was your time to go get him some physical therapy. That was your time to take him to the school and say, hey, I'm noticing something in my child. He needs a diagnosis, and I don't know what it is. And then go and educate your family and tell your grandmother something is wrong with this boy. He does need to get some help. I am going to get him diagnosed. And if they say he got autism, if they say he got Down syndrome, if they say he got Tourette syndrome, if they say he got ADHD, we're going to get the label on there, because the label is the only way you can get the insurance to pay for the therapy. And I understand, because we taking our kids to the school and we say, okay, that's another label on our children. I don't want to put no more labels on my kids. Well, the insurance won't pay for the therapy and the medicine unless you get the label. The school won't give them grace to take the time to take the test. The school won't give them no speech therapy. They won't give them an opportunity to get help unless you get the label. So if you don't get the label, you don't get all the stuff that go along with it. Even me, Miss Brenda, when I noticed, and I didn't know what was going on when you know special needs kids in my family, I noticed that my son was not looking at me. He was not responding to his name. He was like 2 years old. And I said, well, I'm going to go get him tested. My mama, you just being dramatic. Ain't nothing wrong with that boy. Leave that boy alone. Your cousin didn't talk till she was 3. Well, hell, maybe she had autism too. I see what's wrong with her. Now she's 45. Hell, can't hold no relationship and talk to nobody. That's what's wrong with her. She got autism. And so I had to fight my family to say there's something wrong and we're going to go and check it out. Now that's us. That's Black people. Meanwhile, white folks is on it. They looking at their kids like, oh, he not looking at me. We're going to go get him checked. You know, and then they get all the extra resources, all the extra help, all the extra therapy. Oh, and there's money attached to that as well. And then so you see them on TV, and you see them on social media, you see them in the newspaper. They kids graduating from college, getting master's degrees, getting married, being managers at the grocery store, training people, driving. And then we sitting at home mad like, well, what they doing to her child that they ain't doing for our kids? Her child done got better. Her child done got healed. And my baby sitting over here. That's because when your baby was 2, you made a choice to look away. And we have got to stop doing that. And that is why I'm always talking about my kids. That's why I wrote 3 books about my kids who have autism, Uncle Al, because I want us to see that things can and will get better. Miss Brenda, at one point, Uncle Al knows I had 3 babies in this house in Pampers at 5, 6, and 7 in Pampers who could not chew up their food. I had 3 high chairs lined up. And I'm feeding all of them puree food. They ain't looking at me. They ain't talking. I'm thinking, oh my God, they ain't never gonna get married. They ain't never gonna go to college. I'm always gonna have 3 butts to wipe. Who gonna wipe my butt, Miss Brenda? That's why I'm trying to be a good mama because I need somebody to wipe my butt in about 20 or 30 years. And these folk told me, listen, early intervention is the key. Get in here and get this therapy. You can pray all you want, but while you praying, you need to keep pressing. And that's what I did. I got them in speech therapy, applied behavior therapy, occupational therapy, any kind of therapy I thought it was available. I got it. And guess what? Who knew? 2 of my 3 kids who had autism have tested off the spectrum. Uncle Al, what that means is that every year kids with special needs, they take a test. To see where they are in relation to other kids, their age. Well, guess what? 2 of my 3 kids are at or above grade level. I didn't even know that was possible. But early intervention, early therapy, collaborating with your teachers and therapists, coming up with new ways, keeping ahead, getting your family members involved. And my mama would tell you now, Miss Brenda, she will tell you, I was wrong. I was wrong to tell you to wait. I was wrong to tell you to ignore the signs. And you know, it seems like in our community, once kids turn 12 and 13 years old, it's like all of a sudden they got autism. No, they've been had autism. Now we can't hide it. You know, because at 3 and 4 and 5, the difference is not that much. You know, you can kind of, you know, but then people like disappear. And you're like, where's so-and-so? She'll never come to church no more. Where's so-and-so? She'll never bring her kids over here no more. Well, they hiding. They hiding because they shame because their kids got autism.
Shelletta, talk about how you developed the awareness. What happened in your own case with your first child? What were your expectations as a expectant mom?
Yeah.
What was the world like? You know, and then what happened? What was your path to discovering that your child needed attention?
He wouldn't look at me. Like I was, you know, I had a bunch of kids back to back to back.
Before you do that, what when you were pregnant, what was your world like? What were you thinking?
I was so excited because I was in Houston and I was pregnant. And, you know, for my first child, I was in Minnesota pregnant. And so none of my family members were around. It was just me and Sean, and I was pregnant. But this time I was pregnant with Brandon, and I was in Houston, and my mama was less than 2 miles away. And Miss Brenda, I got 6, 7, 15 aunties and my cousins and my best friends, and both of my grandmothers were still alive at the time. And I'm the favorite because, you know, down south, the light-skinned kid is the favorite. So I was the favorite, you know. And so I was like, everybody's gonna love on me, and they're gonna love on Brandon, and he's gonna grow up, and he's gonna, you know, I ain't lying. You know, I ain't lying. I said he's gonna grow up, and he's just gonna be this amazing young man. He's gonna change the world. You know, he's just gonna do, you know, all these things. And then I had the baby, and then one day I was bathing his younger sister because we had a bunch of kids back to back to back, and he was digging in the toilet, and I looked at him and I said no, and he looked at me. And I saw that he did not have a light in his eye. I saw that he didn't know what no meant. And at this age, at 2 years old, you should know. If you don't know nothing else, you know. Even little 6-month-old babies know no. They'll like, you know, even if they can't hold their neck up, they know no. And he didn't know what no meant. And I was like, oh, something's going on. And so then I started just like as he would, you know, look at me, I would call his name and I would give him little things to do. Like I say, put this paper in the trash, and I put it in his hand and it just fall through. I give him a phone or a toy to play with. He couldn't play with them. He would line his food up in size order and then sit there and look at it and not eat it. Miss Brenda, he would hold his food in his mouth and it would pretty much disintegrate. He wouldn't chew it. And so we start pureeing his food, and he would spin around and he would flap his hands, you know, and he wouldn't respond to his name. Like if he was playing with it, you know, kids, if they playing with their favorite toy and you take it, they cry. You could take his toy. He didn't even know it was missing. He wouldn't recognize people coming in and out of rooms. And I said, okay, all right, something wrong. So one night while everybody was asleep, it was like 2 a.m, I Googled something or another about you know, just the symptoms of spinning and flapping his hands and not responding to his name, and autism came up. So I went to Texas Children's Hospital in Houston and, you know, got the diagnosis. Sure enough, he had autism, but Texas did not have a program to help my children that I thought was sufficient. In fact, there is a waiting list of 10 years. You know, my son was 3 years old, 4 years old, and the girl on the phone told me the best she could do was put him in a group home when he turns 14. I said, no, they said early intervention is the key. So you got to give me something before 14. She said, that we have nothing available. And so Sean and I decided we would come back to Minnesota, because where Texas has 100,000 people on the waiting list, Miss Brenda, Minnesota had 93. And so we moved back to Minnesota, got good therapy for his sister, got good therapy for his younger brother. And like I said, now 2 of the 3 kids are off the spectrum. That means all their test scores are at or above grade level. And, you know, now all 3 of my children are best-selling authors. Brandon's book just came out in April. And, you know, all the things that Brandon is doing and has accomplished, most people haven't accomplished that in their lifetime. Now, here's this little boy, Uncle Al. What
are the titles of the book? Because maybe Vosh can pull them up.
Yeah. So Brandon's book is Brandon Spots His Sign. And look how brilliant I am, Miss Brenda. I'm so freaking brilliant, girl. These white people don't know what they missed out on when they wouldn't give me a show, girl. They just so we were in Houston visiting our family. We have an RV. We won an RV off Twitter. That's a whole nother story. Just white people love me because I'm light-skinned and I'm easy to get along with. So Marcus Lamonis gave our family a Class A RV to just travel the country with, to encourage other people in communities of color and who had special needs kids to travel by RV. So I know, Uncle Al, it's really mind-blowing. It's really mind-blowing. That's what I told you. I tithe on the gross. And so we're traveling around in this $98,000 Class A RV that I didn't pay for. And we're in Houston, and my son Brandon kept saying, Mama, these people here love me. And I said, well, what are you talking about? Nobody know you here. He said, well, Mama, these people love me. They have my signs everywhere. And I said, okay, Brandon, whatever, you know. And so Brandon, his autism would always present itself as social anxiety. So he doesn't like trying new things. He's very fearful, bugs, riding his bicycle without the training wheels, meeting new people, saying hi, shaking hands. You know, autism is not always educational. Sometimes it's social. That's why they call it the spectrum, because everybody's at a different range.
Right.
And so he got down here, and all of a sudden, Uncle Al, he want to jump off the diving board at the pool. This boy don't even want to bathe because he's scared he's going to get sucked down the drain. I was like, where's my insurance card? Because you obviously going to need it. He want to hop on the hoverboard, Miss Brenda. And I said, where is all this coming from? He said, Mama, these people, they cheering for me. He was walking up to complete strangers. So we riding around this RV park in Texas in the golf cart. Miss Brenda, this going to flip you all the way out.
I'm trying to find enough room, Sheletta, to get it all in.
We riding around in this golf cart, Uncle Al, in this RV park in Texas. And he said, Mom, stop the golf cart. Stop. I said, what's wrong? He said, there's my sign. Do you spot my sign? I look up. I'm getting chills. I looked up. It was a Let's Go Brandon flag. The flag that is used to insult the president of the United States. My sweet little autistic son thought that all these people were flying these flags because they were waiting for him to get there. He thought all these people were there to encourage him. And we in Texas, so just about every RV there had a Let's Go Brandon flag. So he took that as a sign of support. And just because he thought all these people were supporting him, he was encouraged to try new things. He said, Mama, do you spot my sign? I said, no, baby, I spot a book. We're about to make $1 million. Baby, we hopped in that RV golf cart and we went back to that RV. I called my publisher. I said, we got to put a book out about this right now. And she said, well, Sheletta, it takes 6 to 9 months to put out a book. I said, that's not how Jesus works. See, Jesus don't work when everything's perfect. This book has got to come out in 4 weeks. This happened on March the 7th. Do you know on April the 1st, Brenda Spots His Sign was available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, and everywhere books are sold? Do you know? Come on through, Jesus. Come on through, Jesus. Do you know that President Joe Biden got a copy of the book, fell in love with it, and sent my son a letter to say, hey, Brandon, I love you. I'm encouraged by your story. Keep up the good work. But wait, there's more. This is like one of them $9.99 commercials. There go my baby.
Wow.
Wait, there's more, Miss Brenda, because
my goodness.
the NASCAR driver where the whole Let's Go Brandon thing started at Talladega, he found out about the story.
Tell me, I don't understand what Let's Go Brandon. What does that mean?
Let's Go Brandon. Okay, here's the whole story behind Let's Go Brandon. So Brandon Brown, a NASCAR driver, was racing at Talladega and he won. And so the crowd was chanting F Joe Biden, F Joe Biden. What? And so Brandon Brown was down there just trying to get his win. And the reporter said, oh, they're chanting, let's go, Brandon. And so what happened was all the people who hate Joe Biden, all the MAGAs, they developed this whole let's go, Brandon as a code for F Joe Biden.
Whoa.
So they've got flags and T-shirts and hats. So this is a really derogatory statement against a sitting president of the United States of America. And my sweet little autistic son thought people were cheering for him.
So what they meant for bad turned out to be something totally inside out, upside down.
I'm blown away.
Found its real meaning.
Right.
I used up all of the extra.
So the NASCAR driver, Brandon Brown, found out and he called our family. He invited us to Road America in Wisconsin as his special guest. He put the book cover on the hood of his car. Wow. So for the first time in the history of NASCAR, a children's book was on the cover. We were on CNN, MSNBC, USA Today, the Washington Post, the LA Times, the Houston Chronicle, everywhere you could shake a stick at because something like this had never been done or seen. My son, Brandon, the one who was in a diaper, the one who couldn't look at you, the one who couldn't talk, the one who was afraid, he walked out on stage with Brandon Brown holding his hand during driver introductions. He took the initial lap with the NASCAR driver in the car. This little boy has had, and now the book is a #1 bestseller on Amazon. He got a letter from the president, and he's best friends with a NASCAR driver. Now, you tell me God ain't good. Again, Uncle Al, you asked me what were my thoughts and goals and dreams, way beyond my expectations at this point. And he's only 10 years old.
Sheletta, I've never seen my boss smile through his entire conversation. He has smiled throughout this entire thing.
Well, you know what?
He does 5 shows a week, and I'm brain dead. But I've never seen him so uplifted.
Well,
and
you know
I've known
why?
him for 70 years.
He's seeing his seeds be planted.
Oh my goodness.
Do you see what I'm saying? It's
he
like
loves it. I love
let me
to
tell you
see
something.
him this way.
This man is a farmer. Okay. You know, the Bible is constantly talking about seed time and harvest time. Anytime Jesus talked, he talked in parables about farming. And what your boss, what Uncle Al is watching, is the seeds that he planted in me growing, blooming. So he's proud right now because he's planted seeds, sacrifices he's made. Things that he had to endure and go through that I don't have to go through, doors that he's opened and walked through and left open behind him. Because see, too many times in our community, when we go through a door, we close it. Doors that he walked through and left open for me to come behind him. That's why he's smiling. He's smiling because he sees that his work is not in vain. There's some seeds that he planted in fields that he walked away from that are still blooming to this day, and I am one of them. So
and
I'm
his
telling
mom
you,
and daddy planted the seeds too.
Yeah, he planted the seed. He planted the seed. He did not close that door. So many times, I'm telling you, a lot of times we'll see it, especially in Black media. People will say, "Girl, can you help me? I want to get an internship, or can you recommend me for they got a producer position or a writer?" Girl, I just got here. I ain't trying to mess this up. They attend, and in fact, if you get the job, don't tell nobody you know me. What? We look alike. You my cousin. Don't even let them know we together. When you come in for an interview, I'm going to take off because I don't want them to see us look at each other. Uncle Al did not do that. He made a way for people like me and like, Miss Shannon Paul and so many other Black media professionals in the Twin Cities. And if somebody doesn't say thank you, if somebody doesn't acknowledge the fact that he didn't close the door behind him, he gotta do right with these companies. Otherwise, they don't trust me. He got to do right with them so they'll know, well, we work with Al McFarlane and you know what? He was righteous. So yeah, let's let this other one on through. Let's let these other 2 or 3 on through. He still ain't money. He act a fool with them. He cussed them out. He don't run their ass. They're not going to trust me. So he's smiling because the seeds that he's planted, being righteous, being upright, making deals, doing the right thing, having character and integrity, not having retractions, not using his paper as a vendetta, but, celebrating Black culture in our community. All that stuff is giving me an opportunity to operate in my space right now without them having to question or second guess me because he's already gone through that and I don't have to. So he's happy because, baby, we blooming. He's seeing his product. He's like, oh, that's my seed. They're my children.
He also gives old ladies an opportunity. But Sheletta, let me say one thing, and I'm playing the devil's advocate. I have 2 millennium children, 2 daughters, but it's very and some of my former students. It's very difficult to explain to them why a bishop would wear $1 million in jewelry around his neck and his arm, and he's got women who are giving parts of their Social Security to a church. And that's what's hurting young people. I'm a God's child. I wrote a book called By El Parazim, The Breakthrough, and I've seen a lot of miracles, but it's really, really difficult now. With the millenniums, it's not that they don't have gratitude. It's not that they don't see the power. We grew up with it. You know,
Yeah.
if we didn't go to Sunday school and church, we didn't go to our go to the show or go. We knew, but it's hard now,
And you
and
know
we
why
have
it's
to
hard?
fight
Because
that.
we they number one, they have access to a lot of information. You know,
Yep.
a lot of stuff that we would have just heard about, or it would be a rumor, right? It'd be like, oh my God, we heard there's a pastor in New York who, had $1 million worth of jewelry around his arm and neck. You know, it wouldn't be something that we would have access to. You know, it wouldn't
No,
be
but
something
they
that we would
showed
know
this.
about,
They
right? But
showed it
with,
all.
with the internet and social media and all these other avenues, these kids have more access to information than we do, and so they are able to form their own opinions versus, we only had a limited access. We only
Yep.
had limited information. We didn't have no internet, so we couldn't access that story. Like I said, for us, that would have just been a rumor because Tom Brokaw or Dan Rather would have never put that on the nightly news. So we wouldn't have any access to know about it unless we were in that small, very small community. And what's happened is with the internet, the community now is global. And so
Yep.
our children have an opportunity to access so many different perspectives, so many different thoughts, so many different stories and ideas, and it's coming at them 24 hours a day. But Miss Brenda and Uncle Al, what we fell short is that we didn't give them that foundation when they were little kids. We took them to soccer instead of Sunday school. We let them go to the farmer's market instead of staying late after church. We didn't go to Wednesday night Bible study. We took them away from the foundation so that what they know about church is what they see on the internet, what they hear about in the news. And so we have to start from young children, giving them that same godly foundation that we had, so that when these things come up, that's not the basis for what they know about God. That's not the basis for what they know about church. That's not the basis for what they know about Jesus. They will have a relationship with Jesus on their own merits and on their own terms. They will see miracles happening in their own lives so that they know, look, it's bad actors and bad apples in any situation, whether you are at school or at work or even in the church. And so they'll know that this is not the be all end all thing. And so, now that they're grown, that we can still feed them that by being godly examples. You
Let
know
me
what I
ask you
mean?
to pivot,
By being
Sheletta, and focus on the consequence, the impact of George Floyd. George as a symbol, a recognizable event that really plays out all the time in all of our lives, all around the world. But George Floyd, a crystallization of the failure of a society and of the malintent of elements of that society and the inability of that society to protect its people against bad intentions. And so in Twin Cities and around the country, probably around the world, a lot of white people decided they had to do something. And a lot of them said they were going to pour a lot of money into Black media and Black organizations and Black churches. And maybe some have, maybe some have not. But how do you assess 2 years out now the impact of that public murder, that social media presentation of tragedy that happens all the time, but now we all saw it? That's what you're talking about, the connectedness that social media and digital technology mean that didn't exist before. So what's the impact of that? And what do you feel the corporations are saying and doing? And what are we doing in relation to rewriting the arrangement, the understanding between ourselves as consumers, as human beings, and corporate interests that in too many cases have worked against our interests as human beings? What do you think?
I think that the murder of George Floyd pulled the veil back. So many white people had a veil over their eyes and they didn't see or hear everything that we have been telling them. I remember my son was in a speech therapy class, and Miss Brenda, they gave him options. They had a police officer, a doctor, a nurse, and a mail lady. And they said, which one is coming to save you if you need help? And my baby just sat there. And I had to interrupt. I said, excuse me, but he's not going to pick the police officer, because that's not what he's been taught or told as a young Black man. The police is not coming to save you. So you can't mark this as he's getting a wrong answer, because this is not his reality. She didn't understand that. When George Floyd died, she called me back, Uncle Al, and she said, I get it. So that veil, Miss Brenda, was lifted, on a personal level. On a corporate level, these companies who had long taken Black dollars from the Black community and made billion-dollar empires off our backs had to turn around and say, we sorry. We know we done wrong. We see y'all looking at us. There was a shift in power. And so a lot of companies right here in the Twin Cities said, okay, we're going to make it right. This is what we're going to do. We're going to dedicate this amount of money to Black people. We're going to do this for Black people. We're going to do that for Black people. But in particular, Target and General Mills said they were going to dedicate a certain percentage of their ad dollars for Black-owned media. And I was like, woo, I'm a Black media. I'm signed up. And so I did what Uncle Al has taught me to do. I got my media kit. I'm being professional. I brushed my teeth. I put my good wig and girdle on, and I went over there thinking they was just gonna, do right and do what they said. But just guess what? I ain't getting no response. I ain't getting no answers. I ain't getting no feedback. I ain't get a return email or phone call. So Uncle Al put his weight behind it. We got us a town hall organized. He sent Batala over there, and we talked about them like they ain't had no mama for lying to the community and saying they were going to do something and not doing it, and pretending like they cared. We wanted receipts. They didn't have any. They had not done any of the things that they said they were going to do. And this was not a shakedown. This was a, where are the receipts? You promised you were going to do something. Now, what did you do? And once they realized that spotlight had came back on them, because see, they got the spotlight after it happened with that news release, but they didn't expect anybody to come back and say, where are the receipts? And once we did that, they had to get it right. And now, make Uncle Al real proud right here. Target and General Mills are both sponsors of the ShelettaMakesMeLaugh.com podcast. So when you log on to ShelettaMakesMeLaugh.com and you listen to one of our 10 shows, the first thing you're going to hear about is Houston White's new clothing line at Target. And the last thing you're going to hear about is General Mills and their racial equity and diversity program, because they both have commercials on my podcasting platform. It should not have taken George Floyd to die for them to do that. It shouldn't have, but it did.
So where do we go from here? Sheletta, what do you think? It's a move in the right direction, but is it equity?
No.
Is it parity? And is equity possible? Is parity possible? What do you see as the strategies to keep advancing our interest? And I know that beneath that question is the understanding that at the end of the day, our interests are the best interest of humanity.
Yeah.
That if you take care, if our country and our world focuses on the people that have been marginalized or dispossessed, robbed of their labor, of their freedom, of their lives, that if we reconcile, then we open the door for unlimited healing, restoration, and possibilities for innovation, and for a new alignment of blessings. One way I'll describe it. But what do you think?
I think we need to be more like Al McFarlane. If we all take an Al McFarlane role in society, and hold these companies accountable, and then work together to help one another, to build bridges. That's one thing that I love that we are doing right now as a people, is we are working together. When we held that town hall, it was all the Black media outlets in town. We are not in competition. We are comrades. Because for so long, they have been throwing these crumbs under the table, and they had us fighting each other for the few little buffalo nickels, Miss Brenda, that they were willing to give us. But what they were not expecting was for us to lock arms, come together, and fight for the whole pie. Don't give us a piece of pie. We want the recipe. We want to make our own pie. So come on over here. Give us that money that you promised you were going to give us. Buy these ads, and let's have a real partnership. The same kind of partnership that you have with the Star Tribune. The same kind of partnership that you have with iHeartRadio. The same kind of partnership that you have with Care 11. You can have with Inside News. You can have with Sheletta Makes Me Laugh. You can have with Georgia Ford. Now let's go ahead and get it done.
Brenda, comments?
I'm done. I'm speechless. But you know what? I admire you, and I really do. Your energy is just phenomenal, and I've met a lot of people over the past 2 years writing for Al. Grateful. Just dynamic people in Minneapolis, but you kind of hit the top of the list.
I told you, girl, if I ain't number one, then I lost. There's no number two options for me. If you ain't first, you're last. So if I ain't number one, but I've been waiting ever since they asked me to be a part of this program, which I was so honored that they did. I've been waiting to talk to Al, because I don't think enough of us, these young people out here, who are in this broadcasting business, really appreciate the sacrifices that he has made. And I don't think we say that enough. You look at Care 11, they've got Reggie over there, their first African-American sports anchor. The WCCO TV has their first African-American morning anchor. Angela Davis has a show on National Public Radio, and her husband is in charge at National Public Radio right here in the Twin Cities. Brandy Powell is on, a new show on Channel 5. I've got a podcasting platform. Georgia Fort has the Black Press. Twyla Dang has Matriarch Media. That doesn't happen if Al McFarlane goes through that door and then closes it. We are all just standing there knocking.
You've got a relationship with Comcast that kind of brought us together. They've invested in helping grow and support Black businesses nationwide. Talk about what you're doing with Comcast.
I am helping us to understand and learn that Comcast is here for the community. We don't have to fight Comcast. We don't have to make them shine. We don't have to ask for receipts, because the receipts are already there. They've got a digital equity program and lift zones where they go in and offer reduced rates for, low-income families to have the internet. So if you qualify for a SNAP or food stamps or free lunch, or you own housing, you can get the internet for $9.95. They have lift zones where they go in to different community centers and provide free Wi-Fi and computers, so the families can go in and kids can do their homework and people can apply for jobs. And then you talk about the Comcast Rise grant, where they came in here and had $1 million to donate to 100 small businesses, not for, you got to buy Comcast products and you got to have Comcast service and you got to take this class and you got to sign up for this. Nope. You just got to apply. You don't even have to be a Comcast business customer. And so many business owners needed that money to stay alive and stay afloat. And, they saw that, hey, we're doing good work on social media. Sheletta, why don't you roll this out? So I was able to be the one to tell the businesses about it. I was able to be the one to tell them about the deadline. And I was also the one to come and tell them, hey, girl, you won that money. And so it's so good to have companies like that, like Comcast, like Xfinity, to say, you know what? We value you. We value your work in the community. We value your people, and we want to do what we can to help. That also validates us as business owners to say, if Comcast is partnering with them, we can too.
We're out of time. Great conversation. Sheletta, you are an easy interview. I don't
Force
need to
of
work at all,
nature.
right? Just turn the microphone on and sit back and watch
Force of
and
nature.
enjoy the ride. So this has been a good conversation. Thank you for
Thank you.
being here. Thank you for all that you continue to do. Blessings to your family and to your courage of speaking publicly and forcefully on behalf of children and families everywhere. I'm Al McFarlane. This is The Conversation with Al McFarlane. We'll see you next time. Take care.
I am excited to announce that through the Comcast Rise Investment Fund, that the Twin Cities is providing another $1 million for small businesses owned by people of color or women-owned businesses, regardless of race or ethnicity.
The Comcast Rise Investment Fund will ensure that 100 small businesses that exist today continue to exist tomorrow. I highly encourage small businesses owned by people of color or women-owned businesses to take advantage of this wonderful opportunity provided by Comcast.
Small businesses have been hit hard, and as we work to recover, programs like Comcast Rise play a vital role in those efforts.
Our small business community here in the Twin Cities has always played an integral role in our growth and in our future. Over the last 2 years, entrepreneurs provided many services and resources that kept our communities up and running and still do.
I am so excited to work alongside Comcast to share this information with businesses in our community. This program would not only help us minimize the number of permanent business closures, but also helps with reducing those business expenses during this critical time.
Beginning on June 1st through June 14th, eligible businesses in the Twin Cities can apply for a $10,000 grant at www.comcastrise.com.
When people support small businesses, it creates a community in their neighborhoods, and we are the backbone of community. I'm a very proud recipient of the Comcast Rise program.